Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about this, which is Lomography Colour 400, which is a medium format film stock that's known to have really vibrant colours. Now, I've only shot one roll of it, but it's already become one of my favourite film stocks. And so today what I thought I'd do is take you through that first roll in full frame by frame. I shot this roll on a shoot with Kaya on a really sunny day, hoping to get some really nice colours and match the locations to the outfits to try and complement this. Now, there's not a massive amount of behind the scenes as there was only the two of us there, but let's have a look. So the first location was by this blue bridge with the blue building behind it to complement the blue pants that Kaya was wearing. And as you can see from the first image, I had managed to not load the film correctly and the tab had folded over the first frame. But to be honest, I quite like the effect that it had on the image. It's one of those quirky things that you only really get from shooting film. I really like the way that the colours came out and how it didn't completely blow out the highlights. The tone of the blue is really nice, and as you'll see from the rest of the images, the grain is really fine and doesn't overpower the images. It's not distracting, it just adds to them. I also really like this wider shot with the bridge framing Kaya, whilst also adding some interest. I just wish that I'd centred Kaya a touch better to give that perfect balance. She's just off centre. I love the contrast in the next two shots, still at the same location, but now on the other side of the bridge using the building as the backdrop. The skin tones are nice, even if a touch over warm, but given that it was strong direct sunlight, that's to be expected. I would be interested to find out how it does perform in more overcast conditions, and that's something that I'm going to look into. We then moved into the city centre for a couple of shots outside the university building where Kaya was going in to change into the second outfit. I love the wide shot, and this is my favourite shot of this outfit. I love that the background's almost blown out but not quite, and the exposure is absolutely bang on for what I wanted, with Kaya perfectly exposed in frame. Also, this was the hardest shot to try and get in focus, and to be honest, I reckon that I nailed it. I'm also really chuffed with the focus on the close-up shot, and again the dynamic range of this film stock has worked absolute wonders here in making sure that it's kept the background, which is in direct sunlight, exposed well against the subject, which is in full shadow. So the next location was Park Hill Flats, which have these really colourful window blinds, which I knew would be absolutely popping in the bright sunlight, and they'd really complement the orange outfit that Kaya had changed into. So the first shot I annoyingly exposed for the background, not the subject, which is why Kaya's skin is blown out and yet the building behind it is exposed correctly. However, this next shot is my favourite of the entire roll. The exposure, the pose, the focus and the colours from the film all work perfectly together, and this shot really does show off how well the lomography deals with colour. The way it shows greens is quite unique, but I really like it and it goes so well with the other colours in this shot. And I don't normally like green, so that's saying something. I also shot this straight on variation of the same shot, which, although slightly overexposed, I was still really happy with. Now, it was at this point that, as you can see here, I stopped taking shots for a moment and was frantically looking at my phone, and this is because I'd made a huge error. So the last roll of film that I'd shot was some Portra 160, which I'd rated at ISO 100 on my light meter app, and stupidly I'd forgotten to change this to 400 for this roll. So this meant that I'd overexposed by 2 full stops for every image prior to this. Now, hopefully you'll not have noticed this so far, and that's testament to how versatile the film is and also how well the lab did. These shots should have been really overexposed, but the lab were able to get the exposures that you've already seen without me even telling them that I'd pushed the film. Also, I then adjusted the light meter for the final 6 frames and exposed them at 400 ISO, meaning that the frames of the film were rated differently, but the lab still provided me with consistently exposed scans, which again shows how well the stock has performed. Now with these 2 images, I again used the side of the building as the backdrop. I much prefer this second one, as I feel that the light fell much nicer on the side of Kaya's face and it was a much more balanced image than that first one. With the final 4, they were all shot on this staircase with 2 wide shots, 1 mid shot, and starting with this close-up. Now this took an absolute age to get in focus, and it's not perfect, but it's definitely close enough. With this mid shot, again, I think that the focus wasn't exactly on her eyes, but because I was shooting at around 5.6 f8, it didn't really matter. Now the first wide shot, I really like the pose, but the shadows are a little bit muddy, and I also find it a little bit distracting that one shoe is in shadow and one's in bright sunlight, although that might just be me being overly fussy. But this second one I really love. The contrast between the bright sunlight and the really dark, strong shadows gives the image a lot more interest than the last one. And having Kaya sat in that pool of sunlight, it really highlights her as the subject, really draws your eye straight into her, and I just love the way that she's the sole focus of the image. And that's it. That was my first roll of Lomography Colour 400, and as I'm sure you've gathered by now, I'm already a huge fan of this film stock and cannot wait to try out these other 2 rolls that I've got as soon as possible in different conditions just to see how it performs. I really like the colours it produces, especially the greens. They're really vibrant, full of contrast, and although that's going to have been exaggerated by the weather conditions, I still think that even in overcast conditions we'll be able to get similar colours. I'm also massively impressed with its dynamic range and how it handled me overexposing 2/3 of the roll by 2 full stops like an absolute knobhead. Also as well, a massive shout out to the Mclean 645. I'm absolutely in love with that camera. I love using it. I really like the 645 format. In fact, I'm going to be making a video on that very soon, as I think it's absolutely perfect for people that are looking to get into medium format. Huge thank you to Kaya for modelling as well. Absolutely smashed it as always. And again, massive thanks to Peak Imaging. They got me amazing scans, and for the 2nd time in a row, the scans landed in my inbox the same day that I dropped the roll off. They give unreal customer service. Cannot recommend them enough. Really hope that you've enjoyed this video. It's not too often that you get to see every single image taken, usually it's just the best ones. But I do think that this is something that I might do more of moving forwards, especially when I try out new film stocks for the first time. So let me know in the comments if that is something that you'd like more of. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Got so much more lined up over the next few weeks and months. And thank you, as always. I'll see you in the next video.